let me just say,
solid.
If you're commenting on a post about College Game Day about like, why wouldn't they go to a team that plays playoffs? Why wouldn't they go to a team that's actually blah, 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 blah? You suck. You literally suck. And I'm not on the page, so there's no rule about personal attacks. It's my podcast. You can say what I want.
Welcome to the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation with your hosts Kyler Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Jamie Williams.
FCS Fans Nation. Remember that really stupid thing in the beginning of the year where everybody said, this season will be boring and one team will win it all and we're just going to go through the motions. Well, take the left turn like that highway meme because this season might be the most fun I've ever seen in my entire life. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. The trio, the best in the business, Jamie Williams, the second best in the business, myself, and then there's Kyler. Just kidding. Love you, buddy.
It is what it is.
The best of the best for this podcast. We are so excited tonight because things have gone off the rails for who's in the lead, who's going to make the playoffs, and who has an opportunity to rise. That being said, Kyler, what are your thoughts before we kick into the Big Seven on what you saw this weekend and where we're heading? Literally under 30 days away from Selection Sunday.
It's been chaotic. I mean, that's kind of the theme that seems to be the last few years, ever since, North Dakota State went undefeated and beat my team in the championship. It's been a little bit of chaos ever since. And that's what we saw this weekend. Last weekend, you're seeing top 10 teams go down, it seems like weekly, and then a few teams maybe outside the top 10 that are starting to prove maybe everyone was overlooking them completely this whole season, and they're earning their stripes. So, man, I mean, the playoffs are going to be fun. I think we're starting to solidify a few conferences above some of the others, but there's a lot more question marks coming in this late in the season than I think I've had in the last few years on specific conferences, specific teams. Normally, we have a pretty good understanding. We're like, all right, there's about 30 teams who are going to make the field. I don't know if it's quite down to 30 yet right now. We need some chaos, more chaos to happen at the end. But yeah, it's been a super fun season, like you said, man.
Yeah, next week's slate of games are going to certainly provide us some more changes and maybe a little bit more clarification. But we have a great slate of questions coming up here to kick off the podcast with the Big Seven.
The top 7 FCS topics of the week. This is the Big 7.
Let's get things rolling. All these questions are provided, of course, by the FCS Fans Nation Facebook and Twitter. When we post on Sunday, fans throw in questions and we answer them. So that being said, we're going to start right off with Michael Hamill and Amos Fawcett. Amos, here you go. Here you go. Even though I butchered your last name like I always do.
In the first name.
Amos?
Amos.
All right.
Amos.
Here you go. You know I love you, Amos. And you know how much I love you because I took your individual post, which had 4 questions attached to it. I don't think you intended for it to be part of the podcast, but guess what? You're part of the podcast because all 4 questions you wrote in there were awesome.
I went in there to answer his questions. I was like, no, these are good podcast questions. I was like, I'm just tagging Matt.
Yeah, even if I can't pronounce his name or anybody's name right ever, you're still awesome at asking FCS questions. So starting with Michael here, he wants to know, are you guys starting to respect Montana State more now that they beat Weber? And Mr. Amos says, is Montana in trouble? I'm going to say it on purpose now. They still have Weber and MSU on the schedule. Could they miss the playoffs? Okay, first things first, let's talk a little bit about Montana State with that huge win over Weber, along with the Griz being in trouble. So we're all about Montana here. And I need to just start off before I hand off the mic and say, I think it's time that I punt on my firm stance against Montana State, which I've had all year. And the reason I'm allowed to punt right now is not just because they beat Weber. It's because my prediction was that they wouldn't be that great. They would be great enough to make the playoffs and at best make the quarterfinals. So my prediction is completely shot at this point. They're going to the playoffs. They're almost guaranteed to be a seed here. And so, yes, Michael, I need to give respect to Montana State. When you lost Troy Anderson, your top receiver, you had a young, what looked like undersized depth chart offensive line. You lost Hardy and so many contributors on that defense. I mean, Coach Vegan and that program has built depth, and he has built it the right way. And I have to give Montana State credit. I did not expect you to be good at this point, and that was a huge win for you guys. So I'm going to let the real experts talk about the games and the breakdown, but shout out to you, Bobcats. Kyler, Big Sky extraordinaire. What do you think about both the Montanas and where they're sitting right now?
First off, can we just take that respect portion off? Like, I don't think any voter didn't have them in the top 3 or 4. So that type of word is just useless to me.
No,
because if you were
not
a
useless
voter
on the podcast, though, dude. Mike, we did not show Montana State respect. I'm
going to show them the same feelings that I had prior to this game.
Okay,
and I'm going to explain my reasons. But I had them as a top 4 team last week, all season. Nothing's changed. That's pretty dang respectful. If I would, put it on myself. That's a top 14. That is respect. I don't care what happens. But Montana State fans are acting like this game was in complete domination and they just handled Weber. Weber made the most uncharacteristic mistakes that Montana State did not do to Weber, right? These were self-inflicted wounds, not like when Montana State hit Eastern Washington at the end of the game this year, which caused Eastern Washington fumble. That was a wound that Montana State inflicted on Eastern Washington. Weber State shot themselves in the foot, the chest, the shoulder, the face, the neck, everything. Weber State gave up 4 safeties over the head for, going to their punter. Complete missed long snaps. They muffed a punt, which led to basically a Montana State 20-yard easy field. This was something that Weber State does not do. They are normally a very good special teams program. They had themselves in all sorts of inflicted wounds. If they cleaned up just half of it, they win. And that's still really poor special teams performance by Weber. If they clean up half of their own mistakes, they win the game. Now, here's the fun thing about this, because this is where maybe we can give Montana State a little bit more respect. No matter who they're playing, they're running all through them. They're not really throwing the ball all too well, but no matter who they have played so far, if it's Malott, if it's Chambers, without Isaiah Afonso, if it's Sumner in the backfield, no matter who they're playing, no one has been able to figure out how to stop that rushing offense from the quarterbacks. So that's the only difference, and maybe we can give them a little more respect. Their defense was not good. Weber State still scored 38. Weber State gave up 8 points from safeties, another probably 14 in inflicted wounds. So, this is one of those things. They're both 2 top 4 teams. I did not move either one out of the top 4. I just switched them. I had Weber State at number 2, Montana State at 4. I just switched them. That's literally all I did. I still have North Dakota State at 5. So, I don't get it. You've been respected all year. After you lost all that talent, you're still a top 3 team in the nation. Nothing's changed. You've still been in top 3. Now you're probably going to be a top 2 to 3. Sac State may have some arguments above you. But yeah, it's you are probably still a quarterfinal, semifinal, Frisco caliber team. I don't know where you'll fall. But that's my Montana State.
Yeah, I think Michael must be a loyal listener to the show, because he probably saw the head nods when I'd say things about Montana State. We'd all be like, yeah, I think, probably a little overrated, this and that. But you guys as voters have continued to put them exactly in that 4 or 5 slot, even though maybe we had less faith in them.
And if he's saying it's because I said Weber State's going to go further in the playoffs, I still think after watching this game, because I watched 100% of it, it gave me more confidence that Weber's going to beat them next time. That is how I saw the game. I went, Weber State had to play the worst football of their lives, and they still had a chance to win it at the very end last drive. So this actually just gave me more confidence that if there's a rematch, I'm probably actually going to bet on Weber, where I stayed away from it this game.
It would be interesting. Home field would be huge in that matchup, as Montana State is looking like a driver's seat if they can keep on winning. Jamie, what do you think about the Bobcats before we jump into the Griz here a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of echo pretty much everything Kyler said. It's like after each of those safeties, you look at what happened on the next drive, which means you get a free possession. And it's
points and a free
different.
possession.
You get 2 points and then the ball back. And who knows where the punts would have landed. Some of these punts, the punter was standing on the 20 and he still snapped it in the darn end zone. So after 3 of the 4 safeties, Montana State came right back and scored a touchdown. So, think about how that game flow looks. I think if they played this game over again in Bozeman, I'd still pick Weber.
Wow, this is what Michael's talking about.
But it's not
this is what he's talking about.
But are you disrespecting a team because you think another team is better that is ranked 1 spot from them? That's not disrespect. It's picking a team.
But they did just beat them.
They did. I mean, yeah, sure. They had more points at the end of the game.
They got a W.
I'll give you guys props.
And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah.
You get the W. They're going to be ahead of Weber in my ballot by 1 spot. Because I'm punishing Weber, Montana State made the plays they need to make. Weber didn't make them, so they get tons of credit for that. They ran for 370 yards. I mean, who does that on Weber? You probably have to add up 5 games to get to 370 against Weber for everybody else, and that includes Utah State. So I got tons of respect for Montana State. I just think Weber's a better team still.
Interesting.
Punish me for it if you want.
I think we're betting on that Weber won't make the same mistakes twice. Because I know, Matt, I don't think you watched this one, did you?
Nope. I lived this one through the Twitter sphere, which was holy moly, special teams is a nightmare.
I was dying because I don't care about the Big Sky. Even though I'm a Big Sky guy, I wish they all lose. I'm more than confident to say that. I wish they all lose. But watching this game had me just rolling on the floor laughing the whole time because of how bad Weber looked on one phase of the game. And at the end of the game, they still had a shot to win. There was 3 4th and 10s, and Weber kept converting to drive it down the field. And I still think that last one, I wish they would have reviewed it. It looked like it could have hit the ground. It looked like he could have pinned it on his leg. It was a fun, super entertaining game. But yeah, watching the game, it gave me more confidence in Weber because I don't think that they're the type of team that's going to make those mistakes twice. Now, maybe they will. If they do, yeah, give me Montana State all day because those are such bad mistakes. But I mean, either team couldn't stop the other. It's not like either team played good defense. Yeah. They were both really bad defensively. It was a really fun, old school Big Sky track race game where the less sloppy team ended up winning.
And if anybody knows about bad special teams play over and over, it should be Kyler. He watched Eastern last year, so.
Oh yeah, dig. Oh, he's already down. This man's already in the dumps.
This bitch from last week is coming back.
Oh my gosh. Well, just remember, if one team could beat a team 9 out of 10 times, it only takes the one time and the one matchup for it to matter. But maybe they'll see each other again in the playoffs. That being said, guys, let's move into the second part of this question, really focusing with Montana and the Griz. Holy moly, what a game that one was. I had to go back and rewatch through YouTube clips to kind of catch up because I just saw my Twitter and it was saying, hey, Montana is looking good. Number 7 Montana up this many points. And I was like, okay, what's our finale here? And then I saw the final score and I was like, whoa, what's your reaction to that crazy late night game there, Jamie? And are the Griz in trouble right now? Are they possibly going to miss the playoffs?
Well, I thought they were on their way to a big upset win, a nice bounce back after a loss, and then found out that Sacramento State scored 17 in the 4th and then wins in overtime because the game started at 11 o'clock local for me. I was asleep. So I had to catch up like you did this morning after the fact. But Montana's still in good shape. They're 5-2. They have lost to the 2 good teams on their schedule. So let's say that continues. They're losing to Weber. They're losing to Montana State. So that's 4 losses. And then they've got Cal Poly and Eastern Washington. Cal Poly they'll beat. Eastern Washington, they probably beat them, but it's a rivalry. It is in It's in Missoula, I believe, right?
Yeah, they're
so
gonna win.
I would say Montana's going to win that game, and they're 7-4. That's a bubble, but it gets them in.
Does that get them in with 0 quality wins?
It gets a 7-4 Big Sky team probably gets in.
That is a bad resume.
It's a bad 7-4 resume. It's probably going to get in over a 9-2 UT Martin.
Ooh, we have a question on that further in the podcast, so don't dig any deeper there. Kyler, what do you think? Do you think Montana's a little bit in trouble? I think they're going to get I could see them beating Weber. I don't want to give my prediction away at the Brawl of the Wild. So I don't know, man. I think at 7-4, that's going to be iffy, even with the prestige of the Griz, because I don't see I don't see one impressive win. It'd be like NDSU right now. NDSU last week, their opponents were like 8-23. They don't have a good win on their whole resume.
Yep.
Kyler, what do you see?
Move on from it. Sorry, Kyler, I don't want to cut you off, but just think about the blind resume thing that I posted the other day.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought that was really interesting to look at, and it proved that the laundry matters. Because NDSU sitting at 3 or 4 most people's ballot. If you look at blind resume, even if you knew the teams, NDSU's got the 8th or 9th best resume out of the 13 that I posted. The laundry matters, and Griz laundry matters. Griz laundry is a FCS power, and at 7-4 they get in. Sorry, Kyler, go ahead on your thoughts.
No, you're fine.
This
is an open topic discussion, sir.
Well, with Kyler, I was interested because, we opened our podcast last week with the catchy intro, and you were like, not 6 Big Sky teams, not 4, it's going to be 5. Yeah. So let's say the Griz do get to that 7-4 to bounce off Michael's question. Are they part of that group?
Yeah. Look at their out of conference. It's not good, right? But they're 2 Missouri Valley teams. And if you look at the 2 Missouri Valley teams, they still played them better than NDSU did. All right. And South Dakota just beat Southern Illinois. I'm just spitting out facts. So at the end of the day, it's if they lose to Weber, if they lose to Montana State, it is not a good resume. They have 0 good wins. I 100% agree with that. But at the end of the day, how many good teams have good wins? It looks like NDSU is not going to have any good wins this year. I think the Missouri Valley is pretty down the road. I don't know what's going on with the CA. It's super confusing. The SoCon has some good wins. Outside of that, the 2 OVC teams, the 2 champs that are beating everyone, they don't play each other. Like, their conference wins aren't good at all. Now, they each have good out of conference wins, which kind of helps, but one of them lost to Missouri State, who's looking like a dumpster fire of a program. So at the end of the day, it's going to be weird. 7-4, Big Sky, Montana, in my opinion, and I think you guys can back me. I've never said the Big Sky has been the toughest conference until this year. By far, it is the toughest conference, and I think a 7-4 team does get in, especially if it's Montana. They know they can get them in a first-round playoff game bidding a lot. I don't think politics really come into play, but if you're looking at a Montana 7-4 versus maybe a Fordham, let's throw out Fordham, who might be 9-2.
Oh, don't ruin the question.
No, I know. I'm just saying, who would you vote for? They both won't have any good wins if that is the case. Are you going to vote for UND, who has no good wins either? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but a 7-4, I'd probably take Montana. Now, here's what I will say. I don't think Montana's in as big of trouble as maybe what happened. It doesn't look like Lucas Johnson had a serious injury. It maybe looked like a concussion. He can sit against Weber maybe, and they will probably lose against Weber. But styles make for matchups. We saw what Montana was doing to the best rushing offense in the country in Sac State up until that 4th quarter, where there was some weird coaching. The coaching has a little bit to do with kind of this game. They completely shut down the running game against the best rushing running back quarterback duo that the FCS has had this year. They completely shut them down for 9/10 of that game. It's because they have one of the most explosive, aggressive front sevens in the history. And what did I just give Montana State really good props on? They run the ball just as good as anyone in the nation with their quarterback. There's one team where that may not work against. May. I have to write that keyword. because it's not disrespect. It's I want to see it against Montana's front seven. I mean, if you can't throw the ball, we saw what Malott did against Montana last year. It's the same front seven, but even more explosive. It wasn't pretty. So until Montana State starts throwing the ball, that is that one game on the rest of Montana State's schedule where I'm looking at going, I don't know if I'm willing to just bet on Montana or if I'm willing to bet on Montana State. But because of that question mark, I think Montana's fine. Because I do think they get in at 7-4, and I have a feeling that they're going to actually end up being 8-3 if they upset Weber or Montana State. I think they beat one of them. They probably don't lose to both. And honestly, hate saying this, they probably should have beat Sac State. That was some interesting things that happened at the end.
Yeah, we could have the Big 7 would turn into the Big 2 hours if we went into the specifics of that one. Check Griz Twitter and Facebook if you want to learn more about that. But we will keep things rolling, guys, with everyone's interested now as things are coming up on the playoffs. So Amos, which is your new name, can Chattanooga make a deep playoff run? Love this question here, guys, because we just brought the Mocs up last week about a team nobody talks about, or at least our podcast has steered away from because people haven't asked about them. Well, guess what? They're in here now, and Chattanooga with a huge win this last Saturday. So, Jamie, you've got your eyes on the SoCon. What do you think about the Mocs now after they dominated on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, they made more of a believer out of me because they handled the team that I thought was clearly the best in the SoCon and Mercer. And Preston Hutchinson proved me wrong. He handled that offense. And really, I mean, if they get the offense that matches their defense like they have been, that's going to be a tough out. I mean, they're going to be able to beat some people. I got to go to Furman this week. That's going to be a big, big one. They've got Sanford still. So there's still some bullets in the gun in front of them before, proclaiming them as a seed in a deep playoff run like we were thinking Mercer might be. But they are a shutdown team. And if you want to know how much, they've allowed 3 points total in the fourth quarter all year. And they're very consistent. They scored 62 in the first, 61 in the second, and 62 in the fourth. Now, in the third, coming out of halftime, they've given up 30 and scored 31. But 3 points in the fourth quarter, if you want to beat Chattanooga, you better have a lead on them. And really, that includes a 31-0 against Illinois. So take out their FBS game, and they've given up 84 points in 6 games, and they're unbeaten against the FCS. And they made a real big statement against a really strong Mercer team this week. Can they make a deep playoff run? I mean, like Kyler says consistently, styles make the matchups, and I don't know that there's many offenses that are going to put a big number on Chattanooga until they get deeper in.
I mean, they could pull an upset in the quarters, and here's a big outlier I don't think anyone's going to think about is this the kind of team that goes up to James Madison in years past and gets beat 31-10? Like the CAA and SoCon matchups in the playoff because of geography. Now they could be a seed, but still geography is still going to play a part there. The CAA teams going up against Chattanooga, there's not a lot of difference there in terms of talent and how they're playing. So I think that's going to help them in terms of a playoff run. Are they ETSU though, Jamie or Kyler, like last year? Do you see them being like, awesome story, holy moly, looking good, but then they're going to run into some big buzzsaw team like NDSU or others? Or could they actually sneak in and keep going? What do you guys think?
I think their defense is better than what ETSU's was last year. And ETSU's offense last year is better than Chattanooga's offense this year, despite the fact they have played well. Island Ford's a really good running back. Preston Hutchinson, transfer quarterback, has played very well. Played better than I thought. So they're making a believer out of me. But, yeah, I mean, they could definitely, if they can beat Furman on the road, I think they beat Sanford at home and just don't trip up against Citadel and Western Carolina. If they can sneak into the seeds, they'll get somebody from the East Coast. They might get a third place CAA team their first game, or, maybe the OVC winner, however that plays out, which should be winnable for them to go into the quarters. And let's see what the matchup looks like at that point. They'll probably be on the road because I would think they would be a back 4 seed, but which means probably a Big Sky team, maybe a Valley team. So it would just depend, kind of like ETSU. They ran into NDSU, but with the right matchup, they could sneak into the semis with the right matchup. But I think they probably top out as a quarterfinal team at best.
Yeah, I think that's a tough final run, Furman and Samford. I mean, I don't think that's an easy slate there near the end. Kyler, you got faith in the Mocs or no?
So we had Weaver State Weekly's host. He actually went to the game because, he lives in Nashville now. So he's like, oh, Kyler, you've been talking about Mercer and Chattanooga a lot. I want to go to an FCS game. So he ended up going to this game. And, at first he's like, oh, man, Mercer just doesn't look good at all. But then he started really looking at Chattanooga. He's like, holy crap, their D-line is fantastic. They are really good. That would create a lot of issues for a Sac State caliber team who is really one-dimensional. If you're one-dimensional trying to go against Chattanooga, it could be pretty tough. So I think Chattanooga is really good. They kind of proved me wrong where I thought, like Jamie said, I thought Mercer was the best team in the SoCon. They looked the best all year. Chattanooga didn't even break a sweat in this game. They were that dominant. And yeah, Furman, tough. I have them in my top 25. Samford, tough. I have them in my top 25. Mercer, I still have them within my top 13, even though they lost pretty big. Chattanooga has a chance to run this table, and if they do, they deserve a seed. And it's just going to be depending on the matchup they get. I don't like their odds versus South Dakota State, who's a little more balanced, especially with Tucker Kraft. That creates some big nightmares. And then a team that has an elite defense, I don't like that as much. But if they get a team who can give up some yards, give up some points, and who is really good but one-dimensional on offense, I would not want to play Chattanooga if I was that team, like a Sac State. So, I would bet on them being a quarterfinal caliber team, but I would not be shocked, depending on the matchups, if they were able to, actually jump up a little bit further. But safe bet right now, they look like a good, solid quarterfinal team.
And maybe you'll bring them up a little bit later in the show as we talk about some surprise teams in the playoffs. But this team is no surprise, gentlemen. We are going to talk a little bit about Jackson State, and a random fan, I think it's pronounced Amos, wrote a question about this. Did Jackson State silence the critics? Have they shown you enough for a top 5 rankings? Oh boy. So this question is going to be interesting. First things first, College Game Day, HBCU. Hell yeah. Awesome.
Cannot wait. Going to be great.
Okay.
25,000 fans.
Let me just say,
solid.
If you're commenting on a post about College Game Day about like, why wouldn't they go to a team that plays playoffs? Why wouldn't they go to a team that's actually blah, 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 blah? You suck. You literally suck. And I'm not on the page, so there's no rule about personal attacks. It's my podcast. You can say what I want. The College Game Day experience going to HBCU rocks and is awesome. And the bands are going to be great. The environment's going to be great. I don't care what you think about Deion Sanders. He's brought attention to the FCS. This is good for everybody, especially HBCUs.
100%.
So if your mentality is different, I respect the fact that you can say that, but I think you suck. So
Can I go back, piggyback on that? Because I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Sure, the game's not good. We all think Jackson State is going to probably murder Southern.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. But yes, to piggyback off Matt said, you do suck because this is the biggest fan base in the FCS. It's going to be the best atmosphere in the FCS. It is the team that has driven the most social media, most anything for the FCS this year. If you want to reward a team, reward the team that has done the most for this brand. I'm not just talking about HBCUs because he's absolutely murdering it for HBCUs. He's bringing the brand for the FCS as well. You might not agree with it, you sucky people, but guess what? Who's bringing more eyeballs on this subdivision? It's not Jamie, Matt, and myself. It is Coach Deion. So
and we do pretty good, but we're not Deion.
But you suck. They deserve this game. I mean, give Jackson State whatever the hell they want. I really don't care besides the Heisman. I think that's stupid. But give Jackson State whatever they want because of the eyeballs they are bringing on this subdivision. And if you don't like it, watch D2 football.
Yeah, when they went to a playoff style team of NDSU played Delaware State, and who is at the time, a incarnate word who was trash at the time. Absolute trash. They're not anymore, but they were transitioning up. Okay. College game day. Of course, we're all going to watch on Saturday. Hopefully it's awesome. But now maybe we won't speak as highly about Jackson State because this will be an interesting take with you guys because they did not beat Campbell like by a lot of points. So I'll let you go. Jamie, I'm going to start with you, man. You're a Stats Top 25 voter. What do you think about Jackson State? Did they silence critics or did things just get kind of worse for them in terms of the polls and the mentality of them this year?
I mean, they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Win the game, but not by as much as people would think because of Campbell. You know, Campbell's not great. They're not bad. I think they might be the best team in the Big South. Maybe. We'll see. But top 5 ranking? Nope. I mean, you could go through the top 5. South Dakota State. Can Jackson State beat them? Nope. Montana State? Nope. Weber? Nope. Sac? Nope. NDSU? Nope. I would pick Chattanooga over them. I'd pick Delaware. I'd pick William & Mary. No disrespect to Jackson State. They're building something that next year I might say, yep, or 2 years down the road. But I don't think they silenced critics. I think they went in there and won a game by 1 score and played well. But Campbell hung in there for a while. Campbell's not awful. But, yeah, top 5, no way. But, you know, just to, again, echo you guys, they're bringing eyes. So God bless them. I hope they kill it on College game day. Michael Strahan was there last week anyway during homecoming.
Same with Rick Ross.
So, you know, it's just it's great for the FCS. And if you see it any other way, then look within yourself. But to answer Amos's question, I mean, they might have silenced some critics of can they actually beat a team that people think might be a playoff team. Sure. Silence those critics. I picked them to win, and I would have said they would win 27-20. So, you know, I think they did what I thought they were going to do, and they're going to be 11 or 12 on my ballot again.
Yeah, they're kind of the same team in different ways, but they're both pulling in huge recruits, are really good recruits. Just Jackson State's are way better and highly rated. Campbell's had really good recruiting classes, but Jackson State is whoop. So in 2-3 years, this game's probably a slaughter. Heck, 2 years it's probably a slaughter.
Yeah, I mean, but still, Campbell's going to the CAA, so they're building something. Yeah. Mike Mentor's a former NFL player as well that, you know, had some success and played with a little bit of swag. I mean, nobody played with as much swag as Prime. No. So I'm not comparing them.
Maybe
but
Bosworth.
Yeah, okay.
Jamie's like, no.
I had to. Sorry.
Not close.
I mean, when you shave the side of your head to create a better mullet, I mean, it's cool and all. Like in 1990, I mean, I don't know when you guys were just born, and I used to see that kind of stuff for real, like when I was an actual kid. But yeah, I mean, if that's how he created his swag, fine. But I'm also old enough to have seen Dion play baseball and football, and I saw him play baseball live. And he actually, fun fact, I've gotten one baseball that was batted in a game before, and it was hit by Deion Sanders.
Dang, that is crazy. Well, he's hitting home runs with recruiting and everything else. But Kyler, did Jackson State hit any home runs today? And change anything? Looks like a big no from you.
Nope. I've been pretty much on the bandwagon this whole preseason saying I don't think Campbell's that good. And I still don't think Campbell's that good. If Jackson State proved that they're a top 5 team, then William & Mary proved that they're a top 2 team. I'll just say that. William & Mary didn't struggle at all versus Campbell. Now, I watched this game, so before you guys give me crap, I think the score, Jackson State, Campbell couldn't do anything versus Jackson State for a very long time in this game. It was halfway through the game, and you already saw, yes, it is a 9-7 game, but Jackson State was going to win this game. Campbell really couldn't do much, so I do give Jackson State credit, but I think Jackson State is quite a bit better than Campbell. I didn't have Campbell in my top 30, and I don't think they have any good wins that qualify Campbell to be a top 30 team. Jackson State has at least had an extra year of recruiting over Campbell. Unless you think this freshman Campbell team is better than juniors, sophomores of every other team in the FCS, I just don't see it. I think Campbell's building something really cool, really impressive. Their recruiting class this year is another fantastic one. They're going to have 2 top recruiting classes in the FCS, it looks like. So they are building something extremely impressive. And maybe in 4 years, they're going to be one of the front runners of the CAA. I mean, that's what they're building. And it only looks like they're building up to that type of caliber. They're not there this year. This is their first year of that talent. And it's only freshmen. So that's where I think this is the first week I took Jackson State out of my top 10. I've had them in the top 10 the whole year. This win, and it wasn't me punishing Jackson State for the performance. Like I said, the game wasn't as close as maybe the score indicates when I watched it. Now, Campbell's defense played fantastic. Jackson State really had a tough time getting in the end zone too. They had some costly turnovers. But I rewarded some other teams that have a better resume, like Idaho. I couldn't stand by and go, Idaho's behind Jackson State. As of right now, they're playing better than Jackson State. They're playing tougher competition. I had to bump Idaho above Jackson State. I do think Jackson State is a potential top 10 team. Their defense is amazing. Their talent on offense is amazing. Unfortunately, beating Campbell doesn't prove anything to me. You're supposed to beat Campbell if you're a top 25 team. I really do believe that. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is the first time I actually dropped Jackson State down, but it wasn't because of their performance. It was just more because they did what they were supposed to do, and other teams are doing stuff that they're not supposed to do, if that makes sense. I had to reward other teams for their resume, for their performance over Jackson State beating teams that they should beat every single week. When the schedule came out, I don't think any one of us said Jackson State won't be undefeated. We all picked them to be undefeated and undefeated for a reason. Nothing's changing that opinion. They could be a top 24 team, and if I saw that schedule, I still think they would be undefeated with a lot of blowouts. So that's unfortunately why I jumped Jackson State out of my top 10 to just right behind it at 11 or 12, I think it was. So, yeah, definitely not top 5. I mean, I don't think anyone can push them in the top 5 and actually speak realistically. They struggled versus Tennessee State. So did Eastern Washington. I don't have Eastern Washington in my top 45. I mean, it is what it is. I don't have them in my top 60. So if you're struggling versus that team and then your best win is Campbell that William & Mary didn't even struggle with, I don't think that proves you're a top 5 team. William & Mary's not a top 15 team in my eyes. They're top 20. So, yeah, that's my long-winded answer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of justification there. The reality is that Jackson State, with Deion Sanders, if he stays there and the recruits keep coming in,
it's only going to get better.
In 2 years, yeah, this is going to be a very different conversation.
No one's going to have the talent to go toe-to-toe with them at all in 2 years if it keeps up. It's going to be a P5 top tier P5 caliber team, talent-wise. And if he keeps getting better coaching, you're good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Jackson State, they're coming, and hopefully Deion sticks around because it makes it a lot more fun. All right, guys, speaking of fun, how fun would it be for a 2-bid Ohio Valley conference? We haven't talked a lot about the OVC since, honestly, Jacksonville State kind of moved on from there. I mean, it was always like the Ohio Valley and these other teams and Jacksonville State. But after all the conference realignment, we don't talk about them as much, which is kind of sad. Terry Spence comes in with a great question. Is the OVC looking like a 2-bid conference this year, especially since UT Martin, SEMO are not playing each other? Cool little catch and fun fact there, Terry. So, Kyler, what do you think? You're talking about the Missouri Valley being down more than usual. We're talking about the CAA, a lot of unknowns. Very confident in the Big Sky having a big amount of teams. What do you think? Is the OVC looking at 2 bids possibly? Standings are pulled up on good old YouTube. What do you think, dude?
Yeah, I mean, if they both win out, which looking at the schedule, they both have a really good chance to win out and they don't play each other. And you have to remember 2 of those Tennessee Martin losses are against FBS teams, Boise and Tennessee. You're not going to count that against anyone. Now, the other loss is not that great right now, right? At the time, it was a fantastic loss, a 5-point loss to top 5 Missouri State, who now looks god-awful. They are bad. Horrible. So right now, you're looking at that. That's not that good of a loss anymore. And then now, again, the playoff committee tends to, unfortunately, do it at time of play. So I think that is still going to be viewed as a top 5 win. So if they win out 2 losses, a top 5 loss, they won't have any good wins, unfortunately. They just don't. I mean, who's their best win? Tennessee State right now I mean, that's going to potentially be their best win if they win out. And Tennessee State lost to a D2 team. Like, that's not good. Lindenwood's transitioning. Murray State does not look good at all. I mean, they look really bad. They're not going to have a sexy resume. But if they win the OVC, I don't know. It's going to be hard to leave them out at 8-1 versus the FCS. I think SEMO is a shoo-in. If they went out, they're in no matter what. They may even be able to afford to drop a game right now. But because they at least have a win over Southern Illinois.
Is it
right? So that helps.
Is it that simple? Jamie, you can hop in here too, man. Is it that simple where if Tennessee Martin wins the OVC, SEMO feels like a shoo-in as long as they keep running the table? Or, they share the title, doesn't matter. But Tennessee Martin is the auto bid. But if it goes the other way around, are we looking where SEMO's in and we're not getting the 2 bids? Is it that simple, dude, or is there more complication to it?
I feel like it is. I think OVC needs to root for both of them to win out and figure out how to make the tiebreaker put Tennessee Martin as the auto bid. Come up with a formula, whatever you got to do to make Tennessee Martin the auto bid.
Use that ace on whack math.
Use some Warren, Jordan, Nolan, Massey, Sagarin, whoever, whatever. Because I think Southeast Missouri State is in. If they win this week against Eastern Kentucky, that's another quality win. You could almost lock SEMO in. So find a way that if they share the title, to make Tennessee Martin the auto bid. Because if SEMO's the auto bid, I don't put Tennessee Martin in. I get that you beat everybody in front of you and you win what's on your schedule. You play who's in front of you. You can't help that Missouri State stinks, but that's your loss. If you'd have beat them, okay. But I don't see a path, and I get it. It's going to look sad as an 8-1, FCS record to leave them out. But you're going to be going up against resumes where somebody's 7-2 or 6-3 against FCS teams that have way better wins than anything that Tennessee Martin's going to be put in. And I think Dresser wins an awesome quarterback, and I'd love to see them get in. They upset Missouri State, upset in the first round last year, and maybe they would deserve to be in, but their resume is not, to me, going to get them in. I think they'll get left out. So they got to hope that somehow that they're the auto bid and that Southeast Missouri can just, come in as an at-large. Otherwise, I think it's a one-bid conference.
Yeah, that seems to be the scenario we're looking at there, Terry. And otherwise, you might get the McNeese treatment. I believe it was McNeese, and I'm rocking this awesome hat. I believe it was them who, what were they, 9-1 or something, and they missed the playoffs?
9-2?
Yeah, 9-2.
Something like that.
I mean, you got to have the strength of schedule. And so cheer for both the teams and hope UT Martin takes that auto bid. I mean, playoffs are all on everybody's minds, guys. And that's what this Big Seven is rotating around right now. Adam Peterson, congratulations to your Redbirds, who I had no faith in, and I owe a lot of tacos for that. Adam, he says, what does the Southern Illinois loss do to the Valley playoff picture? Great question. I have to go to Kyler here because Kyler, amongst even Jamie and I, amongst anybody, has just been like, I'm not sold on the Valley this year being some sort of power thing. Dude, what happens to the playoff picture now outside of NDSU and SDSU, which are probably shoo-ins?
It looks bad. I mean, this is the worst I've ever seen the Valley look. Normally, like I think I said last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, normally the Valley, even if they have this brutal schedule, you can still finish 5-3 in your conference and get into the playoffs because you have a good out-of-conference resume. They lost by 40 to Incarnate Word. They lost to SEMO that we just talked about. Now they lost to South Dakota, who everyone's beat, who's a playoff caliber team. It doesn't look good. That's your third best team in the conference, or supposed to be. And where's your good win? I mean, this is one of those things. If Southern Illinois gets in, I put them at 25 in my poll. Because I don't think that there's 24 or 26 teams better than them. But if you're at 25 and you're not an auto, you're not a playoff team. I mean, you're a bubble, but you're not in the field. Because you have to take the Pioneer, you have to take the NEC, you have to take, some of these other conferences, the Big South. right now, if you're at 25, it doesn't look like a playoff caliber team, in my opinion. They don't have good wins. Who's their best win? Missouri State. We just said they stink. North Dakota. North Dakota struggled versus Northern Arizona. No one in the Big Sky who's a top 8 team, 9 team, is struggling versus Northern Arizona. You're beating them by 30. Where is the quality in the Missouri Valley outside of South Dakota State and North Dakota State? Illinois State hasn't played anyone. They haven't looked remotely good even in their wins. Northern Iowa, they don't have an out-of-conference resume. They haven't looked overly good. Southern Illinois and North Dakota was kind of your last stance. If North Dakota finishes 7-4, which it looks like they're probably gonna, where's their good win? Is Southern Illinois, now they have that FBS P5 win. That helps. That helps push them from maybe a bubble to that last team in. But I think this weekend just solidified with Southern Illinois and North Dakota. This should be only a maximum of a 3-bid conference. Ooh, and I really do not think that there's 3 deserving teams in this conference right now. I think it's a bad conference this year. Not bad as in Big South bad. I would take the SoCon over the Missouri Valley right now. I would take the CAA over the Missouri Valley now. I would damn sure take the Big Sky over the Missouri Valley now. They don't have the out-of-conference resume. They're not performing extremely well anyway. Yeah, I think there's 2 elite title-contending teams, which if one of those teams wins the championship, they'll go, see, the Missouri Valley was this dominant conference. No, your third best team, which everyone thinks you still lost by 40 by Incarnate Word. It is what it is. So, I don't know. 3 max.
Maybe Adam Peterson's Redbirds are the answer, looking pretty good in the standings there right now.
Yeah, who's the rest on their schedule?
Yeah, honestly, we'll click into
the
it.
Big boys.
I'll give
the
Jamie,
big boys.
Yeah.
Do you got faith in them winning against the big? I mean, 2 of them. But who's their good win if they win out?
That's true. Yeah, you have to look at the quality.
Probably it's a UT Martin schedule.
Yeah, you can't just because you're in the Valley say that their schedule is just more impressive than others. So
not this year.
Not this year, no. So I think most of us are going to roundtable and just jump off right what Kyler said there, Adam. And we're looking at probably 3 teams max, unless you get some. I mean, 4 teams max, right? 4 teams max, you would say, but likely 3.
Yeah. Chaos can always happen. That can change my opinions week by week.
Southern Illinois still does have that little carrot because they get NDSU at home.
Yep.
And if they can win that game, then they're going to be in.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a win over North Dakota State and a P5 FBS win, you're in. The P5 FBS win, like Kyler said, might be just enough for them to hang on, even if they lose to North Dakota State. Because I'm not even going to say that's probably their only loss. It's the only loss you would think they would take. But the way they've been up and down this year, they might take another one and just completely just eliminate themselves. But yeah, find me the third Valley team that on resume, again, laundry. There's a patch that says Missouri Valley. That's part of the laundry, and that's going to get in.
Oh, it's going to be interesting, man. NDSU goes down and loses to Southern Illinois. I mean, then things get even more interesting. I mean,
yeah, leave NDSU.
Then where's NDSU's win?
I mean, there you go. Then where's NDSU's
one? They got a SEMO resume. A UT Martin resume. I mean,
they're at best. Yeah, they're a bubble team, and at best they're definitely playing over Thanksgiving. But guys, final question here in the Big 7. Our first one was kind of a double question with both the Montanas. So our final one here is going to be from Mr. Preston Adams, straight from the Twitter. One of the best fans, humans, and JMU fans. We still like those JMU fans. We would never have one of them be a podcast host or anything crazy, but we still like them. So he says next week has a lot of critical games. Is Fordham at Holy Cross the biggest of them all? No score predictions because it's possible this is the game of the week. But boy, if it's labeled the game of the week on the agenda, Preston's brought it up. We've mentioned it earlier. Is there anything else more critical than this game next week? Both head nod no's. Not the Big Skies, not the Big Sky matchups. This is the one, Jamie. Is this it?
Yeah, because the Big Sky matchups, I don't remember exactly who that. Montana Weaver's one of them.
And Idaho Sac State.
I think those teams are still getting in the playoffs either way. There's a solid chance the loser of this team is out, and it's gonna stink. But again, like we said about UT Martin and SEMO, even though they don't play each other the way that the conference plays out is going to dictate how many teams get in and how much of that bubble. Again, the conference just probably needs to root for Fordham to win this game. Because Holy Cross has an FBS win to fall back on. Fordham barely lost theirs. Fordham doesn't have a terrible resume either if they lose, because they've beaten a couple of CAA teams. It's a better resume than the teams that we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes. But I'm going to go back to what I keep saying this week. It's my theme, laundry. Fordham isn't the laundry that gets the big respect, not since Chase Edmonds was there. But these are two exceptional football teams. If you watch them,
they're fun.
They both have a senior leader at quarterback, and sometimes that's all you need. DeMoritz teared it up stats-wise. Sluka not as much stats, but guess what? He's cool under pressure, and when they need a play, like this week, they struggled against Lafayette. He made a play when he needed to make it, and they won the game. Their season was on the line, and Sluka made a play. DeMorat, his season's on the line every week because their defense makes it be on the line, and he still throws for 5 touchdowns. They know the pass is coming. So this is going to be an awesome, awesome game. And I hope they both make the playoffs. And I know it's going to take a bubble spot from a CAA, a SoCon, a Valley. It's going to take a bubble spot from somebody. But they both, if they win out other than this week, deserve to be in because their record and resumes are way better than the OVCs, way better than the Big South. Just because it says Patriot League, so what? And I know, look at the teams below them. They all stink. But these two teams stepped up in their auto conference a little bit more than those other teams, and they should be rewarded for it. And I hope they are. It scares me that they won't be, but I'll have eyes on this game.
We got a Jamie stinks out of this whole deal, which is it's a good sign of a good podcast. This is why, and I know everyone on this podcast agrees undoubtedly, this is why the playoffs need to be 32 teams minimum. You know what? Maybe 40. So we'll discuss that at a different time. And maybe I was being a little facetious. Kyler, are you pumped about this game, dude, as we end the Big 7?
Yeah, and this is why this is the most crucial game of the week. Because if you're Southern Illinois, if you're Montana, all these teams, if you're UT Martin, all of these potential bubble teams that we're talking about that won't have the quality win, you are rooting for Holy Cross. You do not want Fordham to upset them. Why? I have Fordham in my top 20, and I don't understand why other people don't have them at least in their top 25. Like Jamie said, they're undefeated versus CA. Their only loss is a last play loss to an FBS team. They are putting up tons of points. That is a really fun team to watch. If they beat Holy Cross, everyone has Holy Cross in their top 10 or damn near it. You're going to have 2 top 25, top 15 caliber Patriot League teams that are going to steal one of your spots. Potentially, right? That's the potential. I don't see it. If Holy Cross loses, I don't see how you leave them out of the playoffs. I really don't. Sure, their strength of schedule isn't that great. But again, their wins aren't anything worse than the other teams we're talking about. So if you are on that bubble team at all, this is the most important game you're going to watch, and you are going to be rooting for Holy Cross to beat Fordham. If Fordham wins, there's a chance this is going to be a 2-bid conference. And we already talked about it. There's a chance the OVC, even if you don't agree with it, could potentially be a 2-bid conference. You know what that steals your bid from? The Missouri Valley, the CA, the SoCon, the Big Sky. You're rooting for one of these teams to only be the only bid. And what was that?
No, you're good, Kyle. Keep going. I interrupted you.
Oh, and I was going to say, yeah, if Fordham wins, I think both of them are deserving of the playoffs. If Fordham doesn't win, then they don't have the win. Yes, they went undefeated versus CA, but they didn't play the best CA teams, right? So if they don't win against Holy Cross, you probably don't have the resume at the end, and you are going to be one of the last 4 teams out. That's kind of how I see it. But if you win, Holy Cross is probably one of the last 4 teams in, and it's going to create a little bit of chaos for one of those bubble teams, and that's why it's the most important game of the week. And
it doesn't feel like this year is as much of maybe you could say for maybe a Big Sky team, but it doesn't feel like a typical year where you're going to say like this 4th Missouri Valley team got screwed or this 5th CAA team got screwed by a Fordham or a Holy Cross. Because everybody, they're kind of just, there's no like elite performing. Yeah, they're all kind of meh. And so when you see that, this is a year where I think we could see something like that happen. I think it would be really exciting and make things more fun. So, but there might not be anything more fun than going with your buddies and saying, I'm going to bet you a taco.
It's time to put your money where your mouth is. And if you're right, put some tacos in there too. This is Thompson's Taco Bets.
All right. I'm not a self-proclaimed guy, but sometimes I'll say again, this is our podcast. So I did the taco bet this week because of these are sometimes driven by fan questions, but I'm kind of picking up more like, hey, if social media is talking about it, if people are going back and forth, let's just make it a taco bet. And I want to go with Sac State because I was having a lot of fun Twitter conversations with this. So our taco bet is going to be a double taco bet this evening. And will Sac State go undefeated? And if so, are they the number 1 seed? So that second part really is interesting. Heck, they both are, because Sac State's remaining schedule is not easy. They will play Idaho and they will play Weber State, and then they should win their last ones after that. But the question is, can they get past those next 2 games? And if so, they would be undefeated on paper, but do they deserve to be above, let's say, a hypothetical SDSU who has one close Iowa loss? Would they be above a Montana State who has just an FBS loss, but beats Montana in the final week? So there you go. Taco bet. What do you think there, Jamie? Will Sac State go undefeated for 1 taco? And a second taco, are they the 1 seed if they are undefeated? So even if you don't think they will be, you still got to do the second part hypothetically that they are, okay?
All right. Yeah. Before this week, I would have said they're going to lose at Weber just the way Weber's playing, and maybe they still will. But I'm going to say they go ahead and win at Weber because Weber showed a lot of cracks in the run game, and that's what Sacramento State does well. So for the first taco, yes, Sacramento State goes undefeated. And if they go undefeated, they're the number 1 seed because they're undefeated, 0 losses, which means they have an FBS win that South Dakota State doesn't have. And they will have beaten Montana, Idaho, and Weber State. Unfortunately, no Montana State on the schedule. Darn them for not playing every single good Big Sky team. But you can't keep them out of the 1 slot there. And just look at the way they're winning. 56-33, 37-21, 41-10. That was the FBS game. 49-21, 55-7, 52-28, and then an overtime win. When they're playing the lesser teams, they're showing that those teams are lesser teams than them by just smashing them. How's that not the number 1 seed? It's got to be, laundry or not.
Alrighty, I like that. I'll go bias here. As a Bison fan, you should cheer for this. I'm just going to, as a Bison fan, I'm just going to roll this out here. If Sac State gets the 1, SDSU's the 2, and let's just say Montana State wins out, North Dakota State, if they just have the Arizona and the close SDSU loss, probably your number 4 because your team like Weber and others, maybe Chattanooga sneaks in there, but that would give you an opportunity to avoid Brookings. I'm thinking purely NDSU mindset here, but this would be something to actually kind of cheer for a little bit. That being said, I think undoubtedly I'm with Jamie. They are easily the 1 seed for every reason you said if they go undefeated, but I think they're going to trip up. And it's because I just see Idaho and Weber is such a tough little slate here right at the end, especially after escaping last week. So I think they won't be undefeated, but I think they would be the 1 seed. Tacos on the line, Kyler. What do you think?
I do not think they're going to go undefeated. I am actually, this is going to sound really weird. I'm not as nervous about the Weber State game versus Sac State. I think Idaho stylistically has a team that can beat Sac State. That sounds really weird coming from the beginning of the season to right now. Sac State's weaknesses are, well, they're not very good at stopping the pass. Lucas Johnson was torching them. Giovanni McCoy is playing a lot better than Lucas Johnson. Hayden Hatton is better than any wide receiver that Montana has, in my opinion. Then, like Montana, the front 7 of Idaho is one of the more elite in the Big Sky that can cause running issues. And I do not trust Sac State being able to throw the ball that well. I actually like Idaho's odds to beat Sac State, which is weird. Don't take that bet, guys. That is not a smart bet. So do not take that bet. If you're listening to this going, Kyler said Idaho's going to win. This is most likely one that you are going to lose if you bet my route on this one. But styles make for matchups. We said this a lot. I actually like Idaho's chances to beat Sac State. So I'm going to bet Sac State does not go undefeated. But if they go undefeated, I agree with everything you said. They 100% deserve the 1 seed. Will they get the 1 seed? Probably not. I think the committee is going to really go, well, South Dakota State, they've been a semifinal team how many of the last 4 years, right? Oh, they went to a title game. Oh, they beat North Dakota State, who's won 8 of the last 10 championships, right? What has Sac State done in the playoffs? Lost every game they've ever played. I think there is a little bit of playoff bias when the committee is. And again, the AD from the Big Sky is a Montana AD. If you think he's going to fight for Sac State to get a 1 seed, probably not. There is a little politics going on in there because I'm pretty sure he thinks Montana should have won that game. But I think they would be absolutely deserving of the 1 seed, and it would be horrible if they didn't get it. But I also look on the flip side and see South Dakota State. I think everyone does think they are the best team in the nation right now. So if you're saying resume deserving or what do I actually think is the best team in the nation, you may give it to South Dakota State. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So I'm going to take no on both of these questions.
Wow. Okay. Boy, we could talk for hours on that back and forth, but maybe for a future podcast. That being said, taco bets are placed. We're going to have more that are finalizing here. And speaking of the final part, that's always our quick hit questions.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. These are the quick hit questions of the week.
Quick hit question time. Let's get right into it. And let's start with Mr. John McCormick here. Does the loser of Holy Cross and Fordham still make the playoffs? John, I could have just wrapped your question into the other one, but I think we have answered that one and make it very clear that, yeah, we think it would be cool. And we think that they could be more deserving, especially with everybody else being kind of meh by the way the rest of this plays out. So let's roll into this. I don't know how to pronounce his whole name. Are the Redbirds for real or will they fold? What do you think there, Kyler? You weren't impressed by their resume and so far where they're at. What do you think? Are the Redbirds of Illinois State for real?
I think they're going to lose to every top 40 team that they play, and win against every not top 40 teams that they play, because that's how the Valley is right now.
So they're number 41.
Yep.
Number 41 on the rankings. Very cool. We'll see how the Redbirds do when they go to Fargo. It'll be fun to see that game. Everly Richard wants to know, with this prior week's Big Sky matchups, did we answer the questions we thought we had, Jamie, or did we just create more unknown chaos after some really fun Big Sky matchups?
I still think we made more. I think we answered the question that Sacramento State is really good, and we answered the question that Montana State's not as bad. That's the fact that they lost to Idaho because they were in that game and were controlling it for 3 quarters. So I think we answered those, but I still have more questions about Weber's defense now. I have questions about their special teams. I have questions about Montana State's ability to stop teams, which I didn't think was an issue. So I don't have any questions. I have questions about Idaho. Can they sustain after a huge win? So, which they did. But can they then go get another one? Can they maintain this momentum? So I still have questions, and they're all going to be answered in one way or another over the next few weeks, certainly in the next 30 days. But I think it's good that we've got more questions because that makes the games more interesting.
Oh, yeah. The Big Sky is going to be super fun to see how it plays out. It's just the intrigue is slowly dying in some of these conferences, but, man, that's one that's going to be fun to pay attention to. All right, guys. Alex Kenkel wants to know, will the semifinals have a non-Sam Houston and a non-Big Three matchup for the first time in a long time? Obviously, Sam Houston has made a lot of semifinals. We know they're not involved in playoffs this year, but kind of bouncing off of our taco bet from last week, what do we think, Kyler? You think you're you're not answering this. You think it's going to be all Big Sky, all that. Jamie, I know you went a little bit back and forth thinking about that taco bet. You've got another week to think about it. What do you think for Alex? Are we actually going to see an outlier team in the semifinals this year? Is it going to be a repeat of what we've always seen?
I still think somebody outside of those Big Three is going to sneak in. I don't know who or where, but it's probably Chattanooga now is the best chance. So, yeah, why not? Sticking with it.
Kyler, are you sticking with still Big Three?
Yeah, I think it's going to be all Valley, all Big Sky.
Should be fun. Okay, this one, I'm sorry to ignore you, Kyler. It has to go back to Jamie here because Jason Plotkin wants to know, since I haven't seen proof that Kyler and Dustin have... Oh, no, this is for you, Kyler. Oh, man. Okay, Jamie, you're off the hook.
Yeah,
No,
Kyler
give it
got
to
called
Jamie.
out.
No,
Kyler got called out either
No,
way.
he said he hasn't gotten an answer from me yet, so he needs an answer from a smart person.
Oh, okay. So, okay, we're going for intellect here. Well,
Yes.
that's undoubtedly Jamie. But you guys, I guess, can both kind of figure this out because I don't know.
I don't know.
Jason says, since I haven't seen proof that Kyler and Dustin have figured out the whack ASUN math, is there a path in which both league champions make the postseason? Kyler, you're pretty adamantly shaking your head no watching on YouTube. What do you got?
No, I don't understand who they're going to crown a winner, but I don't think it's going to be two teams from that conference dual ship, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't look good. I don't have any of them in my top 25.
So no. We're just going to get one winner. We still don't really understand.
Nope,
Like
I
me
don't
with
understand
algebra since like sophomore in high school. Like I have no clue, but we'll see how they crown it. Might be like the spring season where they just change the rules and switch it up. We have no idea.
Yep.
But it should be interesting. Next quick hit, guys, from Mr. Danny Johnson. And shout out to Danny for the apparel again. Both Jamie and I are rocking the SLU Louisiana shirts. They are super dope. Love them. Danny wanted to say, how many teams can rebound from a rough midseason performance and still make a run to Frisco? You know, who can overcome a few of these brutal losses they've had in this mid-section of the season and still keep things going? What do you think, Jamie? Who can survive that and keep on rolling?
Yeah, I think this is easy. North Dakota State.
Oh, I didn't even think
really,
of that.
nobody else.
Right.
Weber, maybe, if they fix the defense. But, yeah, who can rebound? North Dakota State. They lose in the middle of the season every year, just about, usually to South Dakota State, and they still win in Frisco. So I think that's an easy answer.
Yep.
Wow, interesting. And I think at this point, you probably have to put Montana in there maybe as well.
Yeah.
I mean, can't doubt a team like that. Jamie goes, no, they stink. Okay, I labeled this one, if you're watching YouTube, Brandon Anderson's random question. I don't know if I should even type this thing out, is what I put. Okay, so I do remember this, though. Brandon Anderson asked this question. I skipped him or I missed his question like 3-4 weeks ago. And I love that he didn't forget that. And in that podcast, I said, Brandon, no matter what you ask, I'm going to answer. So here you go. These are Brandon's words. I'll be reading them all. A few podcasts ago, you said you'd answer any random question. Game on. If a chair is sarcastic and Wyoming is a cantaloupe, calculate the purple of marble. No, I'm not drunk. I have chronic insomnia. I think this is a riddle. I don't know. I really hope you're getting good sleep, Brandon. Boy,
Well, it's all about
everyone
opposites,
jump
Matt.
in this.
It's all about opposites because you just focus on the middle part. It says Wyoming is a cantaloupe, which is not true. A cantaloupe is round and Wyoming is square.
Oh, okay.
So it's all about opposites. So the chair is normal. So the purple of a marble has got to be like 23 or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little confused, and Kyler is as well. But remember,
Yeah.
we just said Jamie's the smart one.
Yeah, that's.
What's the answer then? No,
I
I'm
say
not-
23. You got to pick a number. I mean,
23. Okay.
yeah, just because Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time and is my favorite number. So 23 is the answer because cantaloupes are round, Wyoming square. So you got to be something about opposites. So I just picked my favorite number then as the final answer because that's opposite of what you would pick.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would have picked punt. I would have just sent the punt team out there on this question, but this is why we have 3 people on this podcast. Brandon, and you ask more questions in the future. We got you there, buddy. Has the ASUN football experiment failed? Jacob Martinez wants to know. Running the pick'em, one of our favorites. Don't leave us when you go off to the FBS too quickly, Jacob. Has the ASUN football experiment failed, and what might keep UCA, EKU from going back to their better-looking original football conferences? Kyler, is this whole thing just a dumpster fire?
The WAC and ASUN in general, dumpster fires. I love the concept, love the enthusiasm, but when all of your best teams leave, you have to join another conference. It's a complete dumpster fire. If I was the ASUN, I would say we gave it a shot. We don't need to sponsor football. We tried our best. It's not for us. Peace.
Could be a brutal loss. We'll have to Rev and everybody else are going to be renaming their podcast and adjusting things again because these guys can't keep things afloat. It's ridiculous. All right, guys, we have the last 2 questions here, and they're both about the sweets. The Rev, speaking of the devil here, the most stylish devil you've ever seen, what's the most overrated Halloween candy? Dustin Helton wants to know. Great question. Halloween right around the corner next Monday. What do you guys think? What is the most overrated Halloween candy? I'll give mine. I think it's a Kit Kat. I think the Kit Kat is the most overrated Halloween candy for this reason. It's handed out everywhere. Kids don't typically devour it. Young kids. Everybody knows the little jingle, right? The Kit Kat. Everybody knows little Kit Kat jingle except for Andy Bernard on The Office. And yet they're not super widespread, like everybody's begging for them. So everybody knows the jingle, but not everybody's begging for them. Makes me think that they're actually overrated and it's just commercials and stuff like that. So Jamie, you definitely disagree with me there. So what's the most overrated, dude?
I disagree with you, but I accept your answer, though. I accept that.
A little bit of rationale?
Yeah.
So how many people, they sing the jingle, but they don't eat the candy bar?
I mean, I like a Kit Kat.
Yeah.
But frozen Kit Kat.
Yeah, that too. So it's not overrated to me, but I buy your argument. For me, it's those stupid little ones that are like caramels that come in like the orange and black wrappers.
That was my backup answer.
They're called, and you can't even open the wrapper without getting half of it stuck on the candy. Just throw that crap out. And I like candy corn, by the way.
Who makes those? I don't even know. I see them every year in my kids' buckets.
Show up. They don't even have a name.
Like
Somebody's grandma made them one year and then it became a thing. And now grandmas give them out.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, on my kids, that was my backup answer before I thought of the jingle thing with Kit Kat. And I'm like, it's like that real meme. Who are you? Like, where are you coming from?
Right.
Kyler, who's overrated?
So I'm with Jamie, and the most hated answer is candy corn, but I actually like candy corn, so all of you haters can suck it. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say something. Dots and bottle caps. Why the hell are we still eating those like we're in 1982? No kid wants a little box of 3 dots.
I got them in 1982 as well, and they were disgusting when I was
exactly. And bottle caps, it fizzes and it tastes like crap. Yeah, no, get those out of my. But
my wife will fight you on the bottle caps, though.
If I get bottle cap, well, I'm not trick or treating, but if I would send them to her.
She would be very thankful, and you would be she would like them probably almost not quite as much as your Jello shots.
Oh yes,
I'll give her a bottle cap in a Jello shot.
Dang, that would go down smooth. That would not be overrated. Last question of the big hits and last one of the night before our game of the week. Joshua Hoffman. Josh, congrats again. It was great to meet you at the SDSU-NDSU game. Congrats on the big win these last 2 weeks. What is your favorite cupcake in honor of the SEC cupcake games they played this week? That kind of dings the FCS a little bit, but it was true. So what is your favorite type of cupcake? And I love yellow cake, chocolate frosting, few sprinkles. Nice and easy. Nice and easy up there. I think that'd be your original OG cupcake. Kyler looks disgusted. That's what they're very common in the Midwest there, Kyler. There you go.
I actually misunderstood the question. I was going to say North Dakota or most of the valley.
No, I think he's asking about actual cupcakes. Wait,
I know. I'm just trolling.
Is this about to be a hot dish thing? Is this about to be a hot dish thing where it's like casserole?
I'm just trolling. I just wanted to call the Valley a cupcake this year because it sucks. I don't really eat cupcakes, but my wife makes this really good like Oreo one. So she puts like an Oreo in a cupcake and then does Oreo frosting. So I'm gonna have that one.
Okay, you need to drive that sucker up to Frisco.
That's what I was going to say. Kelsey needs to make cupcakes for Frisco.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds amazing. We'll do our pint chugging contest, and then we'll eat those. Jamie?
We'll do it as a live podcast.
100%. Jamie, what is the favorite cupcake, dude?
Chocolate on chocolate. That's what I enjoy. It's a chocolate ice chocolate cupcake. I think it's solid, and we've got a family bakery grocery store around here that used to exist called U-Crops. They still have a bakery. They make the best stuff. I'll go with the U-Crops chocolate on chocolate.
Very good. All right. Lots of sweets, trick or treat. Lots of that coming up in the next weekend. And we hope your guys' October has been going great. But it's time to pick the game of the week and then roll out our podcast.
This is the matchup you should be paying attention to. This is the FCS Fans Nation Game of the Week.
All right, guys, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Number 23 in the FCS Stats Top 25 right now, 6-1 Fordham is traveling to number 6, 7-0 Holy Cross. Rankings are as of October 23rd, 2022, the time of this recording. That being said, gentlemen, let's get into some pick'ems. Jamie, who are you giving the kiss of death to that you have proclaimed from your pick'em standings this year? I will have those updated for us next week. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a tough one because, one, I don't want to upset one of these teams by just already picking them, but I'm going to have to. I still haven't learned my lesson that the better defense is the one I should pick, so I'm going to roll with DeMoret. I think Fordham is going to go into Holy Cross and pick up a win. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be fun, but I think DeMoret's going to make one more play.
Oh, man, it's going to be intriguing. Kyler, who's getting the W?
My heart wants Fordham to win. DeMoret is absolutely killing it. He's related to one of my favorite comedians. I'm rooting for Fordham all the way. The Holy Cross defense is elite. I think I have to lean with my brain and pick Holy Cross. Probably a 34-27 game, which is a super low scoring game for Fordham.
All right, so I get to split the difference. This burned me last time where I was like, you just got to go with the home team when it's close. I think it was William Mary, Delaware, or one of those that we picked. So I'm going to go with Fordham as well. I'm going to say Fordham comes in there and the Holy Cross run, which has been so impressive. I think this is just a year for turnover and a little bit of change and a little bit of adjustment. So again, the Matt Frazee Classic, why put logic into it and just go with emotion? I'll go with Fordham to take the victory there for Holy Cross and just cause a little bit more chaos. So should be fun. We will see what those updated standings look like next week. I don't even know with a hunch who it would be in the lead here. It wouldn't even shock me. It wouldn't even shock me, Jamie, if you're actually not that far off from us. But
yeah, I think we've all made some really bad picks recently.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been interesting. But what it is not bad is when you guys are listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, we have it on TikTok now with Kyler posting some awesome video content. But we really appreciate your guys' support and on the FCS Fans Nation Network, which is our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe on all platforms if you love what you're hearing. That being said, next week is going to bring a lot more clarification. And just be aware, we are already talking about and preparing for our mock playoff special. So the week before Selection Sunday, our episode will not be ran by fan questions. We will actually mock who we think is going to win the games, and we will act like the committee, like we've done in the past. It will be live streamed and then reposted for us to actually create what we think the playoff field is going to be and actually see how the committee would operate. So, and beyond that, you will be able to join us live for Selection Sunday as the teams are actually announced. So a lot of the most fun episodes we get to do are less than 30 days away. So make sure you're subscribed and listening, and we appreciate your guys' support. Mr. Kyler Neal, final comments as we roll out.
Griz.
Hey, if you've got it tattooed on you, you've got every right to laugh at them. Remember, always for charity. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time. Boom.
Thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred listening platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, or even YouTube. And make sure to follow our FCS Fans Nation social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening to the premier podcast for FCS football. Boom.
Cool. All right. Well, should we do this?
Let's crank her.
All righty.